I'm Ted Keys in Pasadena, California. Welcome to my Tuesday conference call, a free high-powered meeting I hold live every Tuesday for top producing freight agents. Go to tedkeysonline.com for complete call information. Then join us weekly to see new, serious, struggling, and experienced sales professionals move more freight efficiently, effectively, effortlessly, and make more money financially. So watch my recorded call topic highlighted there on your screen right now. When you're finished, go to tedkeysonline.com and hear more podcasts. Read more blog posts, watch more videos, and while you're there, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight moving products to explode your business today. Enjoy watching and applying my Tuesday conference call.
Welcome to my Tuesday conference call. Ted Keys, your host here, where every Tuesday I show you how to move more freight, move it more successfully, move it more competitively, where you can gain more financially. Today our topic is guidelines for quoting freight rates. Guidelines for quoting freight rates. If you're going to be successful in this profession, you must learn and perfect the art of quoting freight rates to your customers. Now, one thing we're going to do before I get into that is just do a real general overview of the types of trailers that are typically out there in the market. So if you go to your handouts down below and you follow along, go ahead and click on that second attachment. So let's talk about trailer types. What are the three main trailer types in our profession? Well, the first solid, most common type is a dry van. It's a dry van. Those are the big box vans with the swing doors. Some have a roll-up doors that you typically see driving down busy streets on the freeways. Let's go over some fundamentals real quick on dry vans. Typical dry van freight loads are utilized and transported on either a full truckload, FTL, less than truckload, LTL, or partial truckload. These are the different load types that typically go into a dry van. Now, an FTL, a full trailer, is what it is. It is what it is. It is a full trailer. An LTL typically comprises 1 to 4 pallets, and a partial trailer is anywhere from 8 to 30 feet. Full trailer takes up the whole trailer. LTL, 1 to 4 pallets. A partial is 8 to 30 feet. Now, one thing you must know is the interior dimensions of a trailer to ensure that your shipments fit in there properly. Trailer specifications, the configurations that are standard in the industry with dry vans, measure either 48 feet long by 96 inches high by 102 inches wide, or a dry van can be 53 feet long, 102 wide, or 96 inches high. That's just standard for a dry van. Let's move on to flatbeds. Flatbeds, what are the fundamentals of a flatbed? And just so you know, flatbeds can come in so many shapes and sizes. There are some flatbeds that are 45 feet, 48 feet, 53 feet. There are Conestogas. There are curtain vans. There are extendable flat vans. There are a number of different flatbeds that we can utilize. I didn't mention step deck. There are step deck flatbeds. But let's talk about the fundamentals of a flatbed. Flatbeds are the preferred way to move loads that are not enclosed. Real simple. Examples of flatbed loads include large equipment, building materials, and heavy machinery. The advantage of a flatbed trailer is that it can be loaded from the sides, top, or behind, whereas compared to a flatbed, you've got to unload it from the back. So you can unload a flatbed from any area of the flatbed. And flatbeds allow for greater flexibility, which make them the optimal choice for these types of loads, again, i.e. heavy machinery, building materials, or large equipment. Typically, or not typically, flatbed loads require a tarp. Some do, some don't. Typically, they've got to be strapped down. Obviously, heavy machinery has got to be chained down, and all this equipment comes with the requirements to do those types of securing. Let's move on to reefer trailers. Reefer trailers. Real quickly, a refrigerated van or reefer is an insulated food-grade trailer with a sophisticated refrigeration system built into it. This trailer is designed to transport foods or other commodities that require temperature control. And a refrigerated commodity trucking is divided into two groups. Your first group is your chilled group. This generally consists of fruits, vegetables, and dairy products, really anything from, say, 30 degrees to 50 or 60 degrees. That's chilled. The second group is frozen, which generally consists of meat, seafood, and frozen products. There are tracking systems that log the time and temperature for the duration of the trips that are entailed in a reefer, and therefore an audit of the temperature is always possible. You can generally tell the difference between a reefer trailer and a dry van by the huge motor at the front of a reefer trailer. Also, some reefer trailers, you can load up to 45,000 pounds, just like you would a dry van. They come in the same dimensions as I went over earlier with dry vans. You can get them in either 48 or 53 feet long. A 48-foot reefer trailer is very common in our industry, whereas not many 48-foot dry vans are as common as a 48-foot reefer. So those are our typical trailer types. Now, obviously, as you talk to the marketplace, talk to your prospects, your customers, the way to start utilizing your skills is to quote them freight rates. Hence, the topic of our conversation today is guidelines, simple, typical guidelines for quoting freight rates to your customers. Now, let's go over 6 vital guidelines before we really get into this, and that is this. Here's your first vital guideline. Your prospects and customers will continually request freight rates from you. Number 2, you must quote them rates every time they're requested. Number 3, you must quote them the rates to gain and keep their business. A customer will not take you seriously until you actually get a load of theirs picked up, in motion, and delivered. When you do that, they will take you seriously. They will start dealing with you and pay attention to your phone calls and emails. Number 4, you must master the skill to gain success in the industry. Something you must master. Number 5, the freight rates vary for all freight lanes across the U.S. You can't just go on a simple, I'm going to charge them $1.50 a mile or charge them $2 a mile. Every lane is different for every rate throughout the U.S. and Canada. And number 6, here's how you take the following actions to obtain your freight rates. Now, the first thing you have to do is you have to collect variables that are required when a freight rate is requested. And here are the variables that you must have when it is requested. You must have you've got to have the weight of the load. You've got to have the commodity. What is it that you're hauling? You've got to have the pickup city. You've got to have the pickup state. You must have the delivery date. And let me go back. When you have the pickup date, you typically will use today's date. Even if this is for even if the load they want you to quote is for next week, when you post this, you will typically put today's date. You must have a delivery date. That you will usually use tomorrow's date. You got to have the equipment type and the length of the trailer. Typically, if it's a dry van, it's going to be 53 feet long. If it's a flatbed, it can be either typically be 48 or 53 feet long, and a reefer, again, 48 or 53 feet long. We talked about the trailer length. The three types. And when I say trailer length, how much load will how much of the load will the trailer take up? Will it be a full trailer load, an FTL? Will it be a partial? Again, 8 to 30 feet long, or will it be an LTL, typically 1 to 4 pallets? Those are the variables that you must obtain from your customer. You've got to get two variables yourself. What are those? You've got to obtain the miles. What are the miles between your pickup city and your delivery city? And typically we use Google Maps for that. Also, you've got to come up with your start pay. And what we're going to do here, you're going to say, well, what is a start pay? Well, we're going to do the start pay by using our start pay calculator, if you're following along, which is on page 69. So, start pay calculator. How do we use the start pay calculator? Because what you're eventually going to do is take all this information and you're going to post it on LDI Freight to obtain a freight rate to quote to your customer. So the last that you have to come up with, in addition to miles, is the start pay or the starting pay, and you're going to use our start pay calculator to come up with that. Before I get into it, there are 5 main points that I must discuss with you first. Point number 1, freight carriers are the main source to gather freight rates. Over time, you're going to hear, there are going to be all these printouts and whatnot on, what freight is going for today. DAT has programs, 360 has programs. Do not use those. Freight carriers are the main source to gather freight rates. That's point number 1. Point number 2, freight carriers' main interest is in what your load pays. Don't get into a lot of, unless you feel that there is a way to utilize this carrier in the future, but when you're just quoting a rate to your customer, your goal is to have your phone ring so you can write down freight or rates that these carriers will do for you. So their main interest in is in what your load pays. Number 3, for your the first 5 points for your start pay is that the initial starting. Let me rephrase that. The start pay is the initial starting pay rate to post on LDI Freight. One more time. Your start pay is the initial starting pay rate to post on LDI Freight. Number 4, your start pay is just the starting point to negotiate with your carriers when they call you. It's just a starting point. That's all it is. And number 5, here's how you come up with your start pay by using our start pay calculator. Let's talk about dry vans. Say a customer is requesting a rate for a dry van load. It's real simple. You take your dry van for an FTL, you're just going to multiply, again, this is for your starting pay that you're going to post along with all your other commodities on LDI Freight. For a dry van, if it's a full trailer load, all you're going to do is you're going to multiply your miles times $1.50. That's where you're going to come up with your start pay for a full truckload. If you have an LTL, your start pay is $100 times the number of pallets. That's how you'll come up with your start pay for that. If it is a partial dry load, a partial van load, again, 8 to 30 feet, you're going to multiply each feet by $50. That's your start pay for a dry van. If you have a reefer, real quickly, number of miles times $1.75. That's for a full reefer load. If you have a reefer LTL, it'll be the number of pallets times $150. And if it's a partial reefer, it'll be the number of feet times 100. This is all spelled out on page 69 of the attachment that I send you. Let's talk about a flatbed load. Now, if your load requires a tarp, if it's a full truck load, a full flatbed load, it'll be the number of miles times $2. If it's a flatbed LTL, it'll be the number of pallets times $200. And if it's a flatbed partial, it'll be the number of feet times 100. Hold on for a second. What if it's a flatbed and no tarp is required? Well, then you're going to take, if it's a full flatbed load, it'll be the number of miles times $1.75. If it's a partial or an LTL flatbed load, it'll be the number of pallets times $150. If it's a flatbed partial, it'll be number of feet times $75. All this is spelled out, page 69 of your Freight Sales Success Guide and this attachment for this training. Here's 3 more points before you actually post all this information. 3 more important points before you post this information. Your start pay is calculated with variables from the previous page. Now, when I say the previous page, I'm talking about your variables from both your carrier and the ones that you came up with. So your start pay is calculated with variables from the previous page. Number 2 important point, your start pay is only a starting rate to post on LDI Freight. It's just a starting point to post on LDI Freight. That's number 2. Number 3, your start pay is usually far less than the carrier freight rate that you will actually pay these guys, or at least get to quote to your customers. It is typically far less than what you will actually pay to your carrier. Those 3 points are actually the 3 most important points that you can that you can drill into your head when you're doing this. Let's move on to page 70. Page 70 is titled Required Post Information. Basically, this is a list of all the variables that you require from both your customer, as we went over on page 68, and also the variables that you have to come up with, i.e. miles and your start pay, to actually post on LDI Freight. So every time you get a request, just write down all this information. From there, you will then take this information and then you will post this on LDI Freight. Moving on to page 71. Last 9 points. The last 9 points when it comes to guidelines for quoting freight rates. Listen along. Point number 1, you post your freight load on LDI Freight on the open postings page. Number 2, you enter today as a pickup date. As I said earlier, this may pick up tomorrow, this may pick up next week, or he's just getting a rate for next month. Enter for the pickup date, you always enter today's date to receive the most call inquiries. Now, if you want to go ahead and post this for the date that it's actually picking up, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be next week, whether it be next month, trust me, you will get very few calls if this is like for a week from now or a month from now. You'll get a few calls if it's for tomorrow. To get the most calls, post it on today's date. Point number 3, enter your start pay, which is calculated from the previous page. We just went over that. Number 4, enter a period where it requests a pickup time and a delivery time. This is not very important. So in those slots where it says pickup time, delivery time, just enter a period, enter a comma, enter whatever it is, but don't get caught up in when this is picking up or delivering. Number 5, your freight, once you post all this, okay, your freight load will go out to 40-plus load boards once it's posted. There are that many load boards that are out there, and this is how sophisticated LDI Freight is. So all you do is you post it on the open postings page. Once you click enter or save, that thing's going to shoot out to 40 different load boards. When carriers call, give them all the posted variables. let me rephrase that. Give interested carriers all the posted variables when they call. The next one, negotiate the best rate. Adjust your starting pay if required after the first call, i.e., I said earlier, your start pay is going to be, it's going to be a low rate. Carriers are going to, they're going to give you some of them are going to give you some weird responses, but after those first couple, adjust your starting pay. This is the purpose of this. It's for you to adjust your starting pay to what the market is for that particular lane that you're moving. So negotiate the best rate and adjust your starting pay after the first call. Number 8, you're going to gather the 3 lowest rates and forward them to me. Gather your 3 lowest rates and then forward them to me. Number 9, I will assist you in quoting the best rate. That's one of the things I do. Starting off, I'll assist you in quoting the best rate. Now, I talked about earlier about adjusting your start pay after you get your first carrier calls. Well, I'm going to go over some responses that carriers may give you after they hear your initial starting pay. Okay, these are responses that they may give you, and they will give this to you because your rate is extremely low. It's not up to snuff with what the going market rate is. They're going to say, come on. They're going to say, that's it. They're going to say, are you serious? Next one, are you crazy? Here's another one. Do you have any room on your rate? Is that your best rate? Today I heard a response after I quoted this rate. Now, this is a rate that I always pay, but basically on this particular load, it's 450 loaded miles, and I always pay $400. The rate, the response that I heard from my carrier was, as he was talking into the phone, I gave him the rate of $400. He says in the phone to somebody else, hey, honey, we're going to take this load and retire. That was his response. It was very comical, but these are some of the responses you're going to get after they hear your first rates. Here's your response to carriers after they question your pay. Before, and again, this is before they hang up on you. And as I say there, be quick, because carriers may start to hang up after they hear your starting pay. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to say either, I'm not familiar with this lane, or I'm just posting it for a rate. So really it's 2 options. It's 2 responses. I'm not familiar with this lane, or I'm just posting for a rate. For what rate would you do this load within reason? One more time, just to get them to talk to you. For what rate would you do this load within reason? One more time, for what rate would you do this load within reason? That's page 71. Let's go on to page 72. Now, as you're collecting your freight rates, you are going to fill out page 72. This, if you want my assistance, I will not assist you if I do not get this page. But if you want my assistance in quoting your freight rate, you're going to fill out all of page 72 and do your best to provide me with 3 carrier rates. Now, I know that on every lane you post, you will not be able to do that. Typically, when prospects give you a lane to quote, it's going to be a more challenging lane, but you still got to go through the process. Once you provide me with enough information as possible, then I can truly assist you. Do your best to send me 3 carrier rates that you got, along with all the other information here on page 72. Okay, let's move on. What we're going to do on our last topic here is, bear with me, folks, we're going to talk about what happens when our carriers, when our prospects or our customers reject our rates. So we've gone through this whole process. Remember, this is a new relationship that you're building. But typically, you're going to have a lot of prospects that will reject the rates. They're going to see how serious you are. Regardless of that, moving on to our last dockets here, our last documents here, go over to rate rejections. The first thing you do, actually the thing that you must do every time, is always respond to your rate requests. Always respond to your rate requests. That's just the starting point of having a prospect or customer take you seriously. If you respond to their rate requests, that's what will get you building the relationship with them. Now, here are some initial challenges when you are building that relationship and you're actually quoting them freight rates, because it's common to have your rates rejected initially when you're building a relationship with a customer. Here are some common reasons. The first reason is it's obvious your price is too high. The second is your customer doesn't know you yet. The third, your customer doesn't trust you yet. 4, your customer prefers its current carriers. Your customer is just giving you the opportunity because you've been emailing them, you've been calling them, they're finally going to take you up on it. Okay, Joe, okay, Dave, okay, Ben, quote me a rate on this lane. A lot of times it's a lane that they're already moving, but again, they're taking you serious. They want to see what you come up with. Here's your solution when you get your rate rejected. Here's the answer. Everyone enjoys receiving a compliment, even you. So when your rate is rejected, use the response that I give on page 75. And here's your response. You can either say it verbally or by email. You're going to tell them, that's a great rate. Number 2, what else are you working on right now? Let me give you an example. Just last week, I finally got this customer to give me the opportunity to quote them a rate. I thought I gave them an outstanding rate. It was even lower than what I typically charge for that rate, for that lane that I do. It's a lane that I'm familiar with. They came back to me and they told me that my price was $250 higher than what they normally pay. $250 higher than what they normally pay. So in addition to having my bubble burst, what did I do? I emailed back my prospect and said, that is an awesome rate. That is an awesome rate. What else are you working on right now? I even added a third. Can you please put me on your freight list? Now, I may have walked away with my tail between my legs, but I still sent it out there. Can you please put me on your email freight list? So, your solution, that's a great rate. For the first thing you do, compliment them. The second, what else are you working on right now? Also, a lot of times you'll get these requests for rates, and somehow your prospect has basically listed all the other brokers and carriers that they're also dealing with. Now, you may see this, see an example of it on page 76, but let's just go over this real quick because to me this is an advantage. Here's how it's advantage. Let me go over some facts and figures about when you get something like this. Number 1, to compile a email freight list like this typically takes a long time to get this type of information. So if it took a long time, number 2, over time this information gets old. All right, number 3, freight managers typically don't update this type of information. They don't go through their email freight list, wondering, gee, I wonder if Chris Campbell is still around or if Kevin Brown is still around. Freight managers typically don't update this information. Number 4, so a large amount of the emails will not get out. Here's why they won't get out, because most of the information gets old over time. Number 5, brokers don't respond when they see these large lists. And number 6, so rate responses are typically between 5 and 10%. When you see a large list like this, only about 5% of the folks on this list will actually respond to a freight rate. So here's the main thing. Always, always respond to rate requests. Here's one of the main reasons.
Hello?
Okay, moving forward. that pretty much concludes our topic today, guidelines for freight rates. If any of you have any questions that you want to go over this with me today, you're going to call the office here. Hold on a second. You're going to call the office here at 626-309-9141. This is my specialty here, in addition to teaching you how to move more freight. I show you how to quote freight rates as well, 626-309-9141. If you have any questions involving posting freight on our LDI freight board, anything along those lines, covering a load, getting the load into the system, you will call either Marilyn or Maria at the same number, 626-309-9141. Great topic today, very important topic today. Pay close attention. Bear with me, folks. Pay close attention to this topic because you are referred back to it frequently, folks. This is something that, as I said earlier, you must master in order to become successful at this profession. One more time. Question 626-309-9141. Call back and ask for me. Been a pleasure speaking to you today on my Tuesday conference call. Join me again next week where we go over another exciting topic. Take care. God bless you all. I will talk to you all soon.
You've just taken a tremendous step forward by watching and applying my Tuesday conference call highlight. Do you desire to earn and learn with our top freight team and Christian-based office? Yes? We're searching for a self-starter who's serious, motivated, and ready to take action right now. Is that you? Go to tedkeysonline.com/contacts and enter your contact details. We provide top-notch freight agent sales training to you. Then you deliver those same skills with confidence to the freight industry marketplace. I'll talk to you soon.